This is Husker Sports with Sports Nightly. First, tonight's sports headlines.
Good evening, I'm Austin Orman. Time now for the Sports Ticker, brought to you by Cornerstone Bank. While times seem uncertain, Cornerstone Bank is here for you and your financial needs, just like they have been for the last 138 years. When times are difficult, there is no place like Nebraska. Bank on a solid foundation with Cornerstone Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Plenty of news from Big Ten football today, starting with Penn State announcing it will not allow fans at its home games, while Iowa announced that it plans to allow between 10 and 15,000 fans through mobile ticketing, masks, and social distancing. While Penn State will be without fans, it will also be without star linebacker Micah Parsons, who has chosen to forego the 2020 season and focus on the 2021 NFL Draft, similar to Rondale Moore, who recently opted out of the 2020 season to focus on the draft as well. The preseason college football coaches poll was released this morning. The top 5 teams included Clemson at number 1, Ohio State at number 2, Alabama, Georgia, and LSU at 3, 4, and 5. Other Big Ten teams in the poll included Penn State ranked 7th, Wisconsin 12th, Michigan 15th, Minnesota 18th, and Iowa 23rd. Nebraska did receive 3 votes from among the 65 coaches. We have a few final scores from Major League Baseball earlier today. The Angels topped the Mariners 6-1. Shohei Ohtani hit a home run for Los Angeles. The Athletics beat the Rangers 6-4. Matt Olson homered to back Mike Fiers, and the Pirates walked off the Twins 6-5 in Pittsburgh. Kevin Newman a 2-run single to win it. Through 3 innings, the Indians lead the Reds 1-0, and in the top of the third, it's Phillies 3 and Yankees 2. A few NBA finals to give you. The Suns improved to 4-0 in the NBA's bubble with a 114-99 win over the Pacers. DeAndre Ayton led the way for Phoenix, 23 points and 10 rebounds. The Bucks came back from a halftime deficit to beat the Heat 130-116, and the Kings topped the Pelicans 140-125. Most of the way through the first round of the PGA Championship in San Francisco, Jason Day leads it after one round. He shot 5 under par 65. A group of golfers at 4 under include Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Zach Johnson, Brooks Koepka, and Justin Rose. Tiger Woods a couple shots back of the lead as well. He shot a 2 under par 68 first round. Live inside the Husker Sports Network studios, I'm Austin Norman.
Your state, your team, your show. This is Sports Nightly.
Adrian gets the snap, holds it, looks, sets, throws, pass caught, Wandale, first down. It's on the 20, 15, shoots the defender, 10, 5, touchdown, Nebraska. Wandale Robinson's first touchdown as a Cornhusker.
Now, let's check the pulse of Husker Nation with your hosts, Greg Sharp and Ben McLaughlin.
Didn't hear Ben's favorite golfer, Bryson DeChambeau, in that ticker. I'll give you the update, though, Ben. He's at -2 through 8 holes, so he still has 10 holes to play today.
-2 and 1. Broken driver.
Yeah, he did. He broke the head on his driver, but it happened on the swing, so he was able to replace the driver. If you do it yourself, like if you, this has never happened to you, but if you slam your driver on the ground after a bad tee shot or something and break it, you can't replace it, but it happened in his swing, so he was able to replace it.
When you've got as much beef and raw power and strength as that guy, bound to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, the mic caught him saying that. Yeah, he goes, I've used that driver a long time. That was kind of due for that thing to snap. Welcome to the program. Glad to have you here with us on a Thursday night. You picked a good night to be a part of the program. We're going to continue on our position breakdowns. Later in the hour, Mario Verduzco, Husker quarterbacks coach, will be here. We'll talk Husker quarterbacks. On the eve of camp beginning, tomorrow will be the first Husker practice of the fall camp as they get ready and get prepared for a possible matchup with Rutgers on September the 5th, as obviously there's still some uncertainty with that. Rutgers dealing with a lot of positive cases of COVID-19 at the moment, and they can't really get their full squad going for another couple of days, but we'll keep motoring on, and the Huskers have to keep motoring on like they will play a game on September the 5th. So we'll break down the quarterbacks with Coach Mario later on in the hour. Then we'll break out our rankings of where we think the Husker quarterback position fits in the Big Ten West. We lead off with what some of the things Austin did have in the ticker, and that was some major depletion of talent in the Big Ten today, with Micah Parsons, the outstanding linebacker from Penn State, opting to just skip out this year and get himself prepared for next spring's NFL draft. And then within the last hour, Rondale Moore, the explosive wide receiver / running back / special teams guru for Purdue, who missed most of last year with an injury. He's opting out because after 3 years of college football, you are eligible for the NFL draft. That is a huge loss, Ben, for Purdue.
Yeah, we were just talking about Rondale Moore on Tuesday on our last position breakdowns and special teams and how big of a boost Purdue got. Because of that, we were talking about Rashad Bateman being a big loss. Well, I think Rondale Moore is arguably just as big of a loss. It'd be fun to go back and redo the wide receiver rankings now that arguably the two best ones are now off the table. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's news that it's shocking when you first hear it maybe, but then you understand that it's probably the best decision for guys like Rondale Moore and Micah Parsons, who are going to be first-round draft picks and very highly thought-of prospects at the next level. So I was thinking about this after Rondale made his decision. Crazy to think he's only played in like 16 or 17 career games, and think about the legacy that he left behind at Purdue. I mean, crazy. Obviously, the first game right out of the chute against Northwestern, we found out just how special he was, and then what he did against Ohio State in that drubbing that the Boilermakers put on the Buckeyes that night in West Lafayette. And then he only played in 4 last year. So, I mean, it's, he had a great career while as short as it was. Purdue fans are going to be really, really missing him whenever it is that they hit the field next.
Great point. I was just going to say the same thing about what an impact he had in such a small amount of time. Great freshman year, then the injury last year, which was really too bad. I mean, you want to see the best players play, and so for him to be gimpy all year long was really too bad, and it cost Purdue a bowl game. I think they get to a bowl game if they have a healthy Rondale Moore to go along with David Bell, who really made a big impact last year as another freshman wide receiver for Purdue. That would have been quite a tandem and was going to be quite a tandem for this year's Purdue team. Can't blame these guys with the uncertainty of the college football season this year. Part of me's disappointed because I would love to watch those guys play a little bit more. And I would think that some of the NFL people probably want to see a little bit more of Rondale Moore. Wouldn't you think, Ben? I mean, it's been a couple years since they've had much of a book on him, and they would probably like to see him play after the injury and see if he was at full strength.
Yeah, I think so, but I also think Rondale's one of those freaks to where he's going to test astronomically well. I mean, not only is he electric fast and super agile, but he's as strong as an ox. I mean, he'll be able to bench press good numbers and lift good numbers, and obviously he's going to run great times. So, we'll see how that kind of maybe fills that void, but there are some GMs out there that want to see it done on the field too. They want to see the proof in the pudding. There are those combine warriors out there that always seem to rise just because of the numbers that they put up, but that doesn't always translate into being a great football player. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that affects him from here on out with the draft status and obviously with the how he tests, because it will be a long time before he's on a field.
Micah Parsons was a guy that Nebraska was deeply involved in during the recruiting process. He took an official visit to Lincoln. You helped show him where the elevator was in the North Stadium after a game. He's had a huge impact on the Penn State program. There was rumblings early in the week that this was going to happen for him, and obviously it's a blow for the Nittany Lions, who were counting on him to really anchor what could be a very good defense for them, and still should be pretty good even though he's not there. Interesting, when Justin Fields was asked, the outstanding quarterback for Ohio State, who's going to be on everybody's Heisman list, he was asked, have you thought about opting out this year and just getting yourself ready for the draft? And he says, it's never even crossed my mind. So, I mean, different way to approach it. Some guys, just get locked in and say, I'm going to compete at what I've got here, and then I'll deal with my next step or my next big decision at the end of college. So it's different how guys go after that. Ohio State and Michigan, apparently a little dust-up on a coaches' conference call in the last couple of days, Ben, when the Big Ten football coaches got together. Apparently, Jim Harbaugh made some comment directed toward Ryan Day, Ohio State's head coach, about, hey, I saw some pictures of your coaches out on the practice field. That's not allowed yet. That's not allowed till fall camp opens. And Ryan Day snapped back, you coach your team, I'll coach mine. And then apparently, by several reports, Ryan Day then, when he met with his own Buckeye team, said, we're going to put the pedal to the metal this year when we play Michigan. We might just hang 100 on those guys. How about that little dust-up? That'll add a little juice to it, won't it?
Yeah, I love that. Man, that rivalry is just growing, and I think you're starting to see maybe some of the lack of success that Michigan has had rub off in other areas, and a poking the bear maybe type scenario. You can't win on the field, so you try and win somewhere else. Maybe that type of mentality too. But yeah, I mean, Ohio State's had their number, and until Jim Harbaugh does something about it, I mean, he can tattle about coaches. He can, debate with rules and rule changes to try and help his program, but ultimately he's going to be judged for what matters, and that's winning on the field against rivals, something that he hasn't done at all his time in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, he got a big win last year over Notre Dame, which helped, and he's been able to beat Little Brother, a.k.a. Michigan State, a couple of times in the last few years, but it has not been smooth sailing for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. Now, granted, he's hit Ohio State at maybe the apex of their program. They have been the creme de la creme. Just look at today's coaches poll that came out. The Buckeyes listed number 2 in the country behind Clemson. And then how about the next 3 all being from the SEC? Alabama, Georgia, LSU, boom, boom, boom. And we're going to get to LSU in our preseason top 25 at some point, but they lost an awful lot of good players. Hard to imagine that they can still be one of the top 5 teams in the country this year. Maybe they'll prove me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be a bunch of players that haven't done it at a consistent level, that's for sure. And that's always a danger. That's a danger in the preseason, but we don't really know, what's going to come of that. Obviously, Bo Pelini going to LSU is going to add a new wrinkle to that defense. We'll just kind of, again, wait and see what kind of product they run out there. But, boy, I mean, obviously losing what they lost is definitely going to hurt, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, man, that was a very, very talented unit a year ago. And I know they got Jamar Chase back, who will be the first wide receiver picked in the draft if he's healthy. But
a corner that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you lose a lot. So I'm eager to see what LSU team takes the field. And thankfully, we won't have to wait too long because of the way the schedule's set up. They're going to dive right into conference games, which is good.
How many guys drafted? Was it 14? No.
Yeah, something
10? 10 or 14? It was something pretty high up there that LSU drafted, but we'll get to them. They haven't appeared yet in our preseason top 25, but we will get to them. We will have a version of that later on tonight as well. All right, those are some of the topics that we're dealing with. Here are the phone numbers if you want to join us. 531. We do have a new phone number if you've been away for a few days. 531-500-4686. That's our new Woodhouse Auto Family hotline. It also doubles as our U.S. Cellular text line. U.S. Cellular, the official wireless partner of Husker Athletics. So lock it in your phone. If you want to send us a test text, our guys will answer it back so you know you have the right thing. If you can't make a phone call some night but want to share an opinion with us or have us answer a question and you don't want to get on the phone and talk to us but you can fire us a text, you can do that at 531, which is also a new area code for the state of Nebraska, 531-500-4686, 531-500-4686. We have conversed several times already this week with folks that have sent us texts asking us certain topics about certain questions and topics that they want to get answered. All right, that's what we have here on the program tonight. When we come back, Mario Verduzco, Husker quarterbacks coach, will join us. We'll talk about the QBs. We'll do that next. Thanks for spending a little bit of your Thursday evening with us. Let's go to the phones. Next up to Omaha, Jonathan. Welcome to Sports Nightly.
Hey, Greg. How you doing, brother?
Good, thank you.
Hey, I had a little hypothetical question. Just want to get your opinion on this, okay? So with COVID going on, it's obviously a crazy time, and Notre Dame especially had to be resilient. They had to find a way to be clever, and they're joining the ACC for 1 year. So let's say hypothetically, they win the ACC championship. It goes to the moon for them. They go to the CFP. They win a bowl game in there. Maybe even win the championship. I don't know. Do you think if they had that much success this year, they would consider joining the ACC next year?
I don't know. I don't think they will. I think they have that relationship with the ACC to play 6 games a year, but they love the ability to play USC and Stanford and Navy and a Big Ten team here and there. They love the flexibility to be able to do that. So I think this was strictly because of COVID that they dove in and fell into the golden parachute of the ACC for this year. Even if they have a great year like you're laying out, I still think they love their independence.
Okay, I mean, I didn't want to hear that because I'm just hoping that they would be like, oh, this extra conference championship game, this is nice, because that's the thing that really holds them back. Is, as you guys know, is them not having that extra game, and I don't know. I just hope I hope they win it all this year because this would be their chance to. Honestly, this is like, and I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but like this would be the opportunity for them to win it. Honestly.
Well, they may have the horses. I'm not quite sure they're that. And I appreciate the call, Jonathan. Thanks for dialing us up in Omaha. I'm not quite sure they're quite built to win it all this year. We'll see. Hopefully we get enough games that we kind of get a gauge of that here in the fall. Well, time for us to now continue on with our position breakdowns.
Tonight on Sports Nightly, it's the Husker football position breakdowns.
Caffrey motions, Hickman, snap back. Luke's going to keep it himself off the right side. He's in there. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Tonight,
the triangle formation on the near side. JD split out left. They look left. Back to throw is Adrian. He could step up and he's going to try to run for the pylon. He's to the 5. He lays out. He's in. That's a 2-point play for Nebraska. And they've tied this game in Champaign at 35 apiece.
quarterbacks coach Mario Verduzco.
And let's talk about these quarterbacks with Mario Verduzco. Your world is always an ever-changing world, and if we go back to the end of last season, you've lost a couple young men who've decided to try to go elsewhere. I think that's kind of your world, isn't it, the quarterback, because only one of your guys plays at a time?
Yeah. There's only one ball.
Yeah.
So only one guy can take the snap, so sometimes those guys get a little antsy, and Andrew took off. He's at SEMO, and then Noah went to Rutgers.
Well, we wish them the best, and I know you really enjoyed working with those two guys during their time at Nebraska. But I still think you probably feel really good about your room, I would guess. I mean, you've got 3 young guys that are on scholarship that all look like quality quarterbacks for you.
Yeah, it's a good room. I feel really good about our room. And then we have the 2 walk-ons aside from Adrian, Lucas, and Logan, and then Matthew and Braden are the 2 walk-on cats. No, I feel really good about the room. Great group of guys, very supportive of each other, just like we demand them to be. So it's good.
Let's start with Adrian. He's been your starter the last 2 years. Coach Frost made some comments about him the other day to some of the folks in the media, saying that, that maybe Adrian, last year it snuck up on him a little bit. He wasn't quite prepared week in and week out. How did you grade Adrian's sophomore season as your quarterback?
Oh, I don't know that I would say that Adrian was not prepared. I don't know if Coach Frost directly said that, but I think maybe he probably took things maybe a little too lightly, maybe sometimes, as it relates to practice when we started fall camp. I mean, he still worked hard and did all those sorts of things, but whether he had as much of a consequential attitude about things as he did his freshman year, I guess that would be up for debate. But every time I tested him, either before the season with the playbook test and or every game from a cognitive standpoint, he was ready to go. So I had no qualms about that piece of the puzzle at all.
We hear all the time sophomore slump. Adrian was brilliant at times as a freshman, and I thought he had some really good games last year. The Illinois game comes to mind as a game where he played really, really well for this team. Then he battled some injuries. You also had as Coach Frost has said, maybe not enough weapons on the offense to spread it around a little bit. How did he handle himself mentally through a season that wasn't as smooth for him, including a couple of injuries that kept him from playing a few games?
Well, I'll always say this about that particular comment you made at the beginning. A quarterback's only going to be as good as the guys around from a functional standpoint. There's no doubt about that. You can make the sort of goofy analogies of, put a junior college offensive line in front of Tom Brady, and how good is Tom Brady going to be? Put a junior college defense with Tom Brady, and how many games are they going to win? So all of those things that have to do with the quote-unquote a quarterback's winning record and or his success are dependent upon the guys around him. Now, quarterback himself has to make certain he's doing his job and getting his work done, that sort of thing. With regards to his mental part of it, psychological part of it, I thought he handled himself extremely well. Particularly when you consider the amount of hype that surrounded him that he never asked for. He never asked for any of that. And so when things don't turn out exactly like you would like them to, some young guys can really get shattered by it. It's my opinion he did not. And he battled through it like a warrior. But he didn't ask for any of that hype. That has nothing to do with Adrian. It has nothing to do with his psychology. It has nothing to do with his ego. That was thrust upon him, unfortunately.
Let me ask you this. You probably haven't had this question before. How was he the weeks he couldn't play? How was he the weeks that he was hurt and wasn't going to play in the game? How was he in the room? How was his interaction with the other guys like Noah? How was he those weeks?
He was just like any of the other guys were with him, always came in the room with a great attitude, had a great attitude at practice, very helpful, was trying to do as much as he possibly can to ensure that we could enjoy some success that particular week. So he was fine. Now, obviously, there's that, you could always sense that little bit of disappointment in him that, he wasn't able to play, but he was good.
Great. Again, we're talking to Mario Verduzco, Husker quarterbacks coach, our position breakdown here on the Husker Sports Network. Luke McCaffrey, we saw glimpses of him a year ago. We saw his athletic ability. How's that young man been to coach, and what kind of offseason has he had?
Luke is hell on wheels. He's doing well, man. He's always worked extremely hard, and a bright young guy, tremendous attitude. Just like all the guys in the room, there's not a downer amongst them. And Lucas is just a bright young cat who has a tremendous work ethic. And so he's done real well in the off season. Cleaned some things up with his stroke that we've been working on since he arrived. That's getting better and better and better. And so the little bit that we were able to work together those couple of days in the spring ball, I was pleased at his development with regards to at least his stroke.
He certainly comes with great football pedigree. I know you and I talked about that a year ago, what a great football family he has. I think we all got a glimpse of him, Coach. I think it was the Indiana game. Noah was the starter. Noah's helmet came off, and I barely described the fact that Noah's helmet was off, and I looked down there, and there's McCaffrey already getting the guys together to run the next play. He jetted out there like crazy. I think that kind of shows us all how much he loves the game.
Tremendous. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely loves the game. And I don't know a quarterback worth his salt that doesn't love the game, particularly because of the goofiness of the position that those cats play. But yeah, he was excited for any amount of time that he was able to get in, even when he played receiver. When Coach Frost asked him to do so, because we had sustained some guys that weren't able to play, either due to injury or one thing or another, and hell, he was ready to do it, and he was prepared to do it. He knew all the routes, he knew all the combinations, he knew all the blocking patterns, and so on and so forth that was required of him. There are a few things that he wasn't really detailed in, but for the most part, he was good to go, as I would expect And I told Coach Frost, hey, Coach, if you need any of these guys to play receiver, they'll be able to do it for you. So he was excited.
Well, the newbie in your room is Logan Smothers, young guy who came at semester to get indoctrinated into college football. What impressions has he left you in a brief time so far in Lincoln?
Logan Smothers from Muscle Shoals, man. Logan's awesome. I really enjoy him as much as I do all the other guys. And he's extremely athletic, fast, had some stroke issues we need to get taken care of. He's been working on those since when he arrived. And the couple of days of practice that we were able to have, I was really pleased with his progress in terms of getting that cleaned up. I gave him a couple preliminary playbook tests, and he tore those apart. So his work ethic is intact with regards to him doing the things that are necessary to at least give his teammates a chance to be successful by his play and making certain he does his job. So it's been good so far. I suspect there's not going to be any issues as we move forward.
Coach, he's a heck of an athlete, isn't he? I think he was made like the state finals in a couple of the sprints when he was a junior down in the state of Alabama. It seems like he must be a heck of an athlete.
He was a 10-7, 10-8 guy, right in that range as a junior. So I suspect he would have continued that if he would have stayed there and ran track his senior year. But, you know, he was a mid-year guy and was fired up to come. And, yeah, he's a heck of an athlete. He can freaking run now. I mean, he can run. He can get up and go. He was in a little bit of a, I won't say rehab mode, but he was recovering a little bit because of the game that he played in and got a little banged up. But he's doing great. Very excited about Logan Smothers.
Again, visiting with Mario Verduzco, Husker quarterbacks coach, our position breakdown here on Sports Nightly. Let's go to your second home, Kearney, Nebraska. You've enjoyed your time out, I think, in Kearney. You've got a couple of walk-ons from out there. Matt Masker's back for another year, and Braden Miller. Let's start with Matt. What do you like about Matt Masker?
Well, Matthew is he played at Kearney Catholic, and is just both those guys are just your typical tough-ass Nebraska, Midwest kind of guys. Both are really fine quarterbacks in their own right. Matthew's got a really good gun. He's strong. He's tough. He doesn't back down from anything. He's done a tremendous job of keeping himself prepared. As you know, probably the hardest position to play in all of sport is second-team quarterback. You know, it's a difficult situation in terms of keeping yourself mentally prepared from week to week, knowing you may not even get a chance to play and so on and so forth. But Matthew's handled all of that sort of psychological fire tremendously. And I don't have enough great things to say about Matthew Masker. Just a tremendous young guy and a good quarterback.
Well, across the town at Kearney High School, you found Braden Miller, 6'1" young man. What about Braden? What skills does he possess?
Braden, very similar to Matthew, maybe not quite as heavy, but kind of the same sort of build. Got a good gun, very bright, just cut from basically the same cloth. You know, tough-ass Nebraska kids, Midwest guys who just love playing football and just absolutely love being here at Nebraska. And so I know I feel very fortunate, as do the other quarterbacks in the room, that they're here. They take a lot of pride in what they do. If that means they're in charge of giving signals for a practice or whatever it might be, they're going to do their damnedest to make sure it's as perfect as can possibly be to facilitate our success. So, like I said, Braden's basically cut from the same cloth as Matthew is, and I don't have enough good things to say about either one of them.
Very good. Well, Coach, we always appreciate your insight into the guys that are in your room. Let's hope this we keep everybody healthy over the next 6-7 weeks, and we get to play some football in the fall. I know that's what everybody's keeping their fingers crossed for.
That'd be tremendous. And Greg, it's always great talking with you. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. Appreciate you.
There he is, Mario Verduzco, joining us on our Sports Nightly Hotline, brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto family, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is Woodhouse. Okay, obviously, Adrian Martinez, the big focal point. Luke McCaffrey, who teased this all a year ago, Ben, with some of his skills. There's reason to be optimistic about this group, and I think – at least I feel confident that Adrian's going to bounce back in a big way this junior year. What'd you take from the coach's comments?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that he said there that just kind of peeks inside that room a little bit. And I think the dynamic of the quarterback room this year is fascinating. Obviously, we know Noah is no longer a part of it, but what we saw from Luke, as you mentioned, a year ago, what he was able to do as a true freshman was pretty amazing. And then you throw in another young buck in there in Logan Smothers that, by all accounts, just a spectacular athlete. I think, Adrian needs to play more with a chip on his shoulder. I think he will. I think, and I've said this a lot. I think we've seen the best versions of Adrian Martinez when his back was against the wall or when, the axe got the toughest. And I think that's leading me to believe that he is going to have a bounce-back season. I think, having all this off-season to get healthy, I don't know that he ever felt 100% last year. Having that offensive line in front of him, hopefully having some more weapons to throw to, all that stuff should be conducive to better quarterback play. And I'm expecting a big jump for Adrian here in year 3.
All right, where do the Huskers stack up with this position group among the teams in the Big Ten West? We'll get to that coming up next.
You're listening to Sports Nightly. This is the Husker Sports Network.
Experience the Woodhouse Ford difference today at one of our 3 convenient locations. Our sales staff is here to make sure you find your perfect car, truck, or SUV. Shop all of our inventory and offers at woodhouse.com or visit us for a test drive today in Blair, Omaha, or Plattsmouth. Shop Woodhouse Ford first and experience the difference today, making your car buying experience better. This is Woodhouse Ford. Built Ford proud.
Now order your groceries online and get them even faster with Hy-Vee Aisles Online same-day pickup. Just choose the Get It Faster option for only $9.95 and pick up your groceries in as little as 2 hours. Plus, we've added even more pickup times to choose from. You'll find the same great deals as in-store. Free pickup on orders over $30 and no-contact pickup and delivery. Download the Hy-Vee Grocery app today and pick up groceries in as little as 2 hours. Some restrictions apply.
This is the Husker Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. You're listening to Sports Nightly.
Your journey starts now. Arrow Stage Lines is now accepting applications for CDL drivers across all locations. This is not just a driving job. This is an adventure. At Arrow Stage Lines, you get paid to experience scenic destinations, sporting events, historical landmarks, and so much more. Drive some of the latest pristine equipment on the road with superior safety ratings, excellent benefits, and so much more. Start your journey today at Arrow Stage Lines. Apply at drivearrow.com.
Here we go again. The celebrating, the accolades. Ever since we added Marco to our team, our technology can't lose. Day after day, success after success, Marco's made our business IT a force to be reckoned with. The only drawback of being technology all-stars is keeping champagne away from the electronics! Find out what your technology could be saying at marconet.com.
Husker Nation, you can now find Husker Sports Network content on our YouTube channel. Catch up on episodes of Sports Nightly. And delighted to be joined now by the head football coach, the Cornhuskers, Scott Frost. Coaches shows Husker Huddle.
Today we are joined by Minnesota Vikings running back Amir Abdullah.
Podcast and more at Husker Sports on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to stay informed on the latest news and content from the Husker Sports Network.
They are our grandparents, and in many cases, our mom and dad. They're our neighbors, and today, millions of older adults sit isolated in their homes. As your neighbors, we at Cox remind you to reach out to them. One call, one text, one video chat a day can make someone's day. Social distancing doesn't mean social disconnecting. Cox encourages you connect with a neighbor, family member, or friend. One call a day. Let them know they're not alone. This is a message from Cox, bringing us closer.
For this, there's no choice. I have to go to Nebraska Medicine.
But Dad, there's way closer hospitals.
I know, but for cancer, you can't take any chances.
You're right.
All cancer care is not created equal. The Fred and Pamela Buffett Cancer Center at Nebraska Medicine offers greater access to the most promising clinical trials, breakthrough research, and an entire team of specialists focused on your type of cancer. It's also the state's only NCI-designated cancer center, a designation that signifies scientific leadership and the most advanced care.
Those doctors really know their stuff.
I know.
It feels really good to have a plan that's designed just for me, you know?
Yeah, it does.
Where you begin your cancer journey matters, and with 3 cancer centers, Nebraska Medicine's leading cancer care is just a short drive from home. Visit nebraskamed.com/cancer. Nebraska Medicine. Serious medicine, extraordinary care.
Welcome back. Sports Island here on a Thursday night. Greg Sharp, Ben McLaughlin with you. Austin Orman back in our studios. Okay, quarterbacks. We just heard from Mario Verduzco. So, Ben, let's handicap the Big Ten West at this position. How do you look at this thing?
Yeah, I think for me, I had to think about a couple of things, not just statistics. How did they manage their offense? What success did they have as a quarterback? And for one guy in particular, I had to knock him down a few pegs because of who he was handing the ball to. I think that had a lot to do with his numbers as well. But enough rambling, I'll get to it. I've got Minnesota at number 1. I thought Tanner Morgan put together a very good year. I don't know that he would be number 1 this year. I'd have to see him throw the ball to a couple of other guys. But coming into the year, hard to argue with an 11-win season and 2, all Big Ten wide receivers certainly help. But anyway, Minnesota 1. I've got Nebraska 2. I probably overshot them a little bit, but I think for as bad of a year as Adrian had, statistically he was still toward the top of a lot of categories. And I think by our standards, he regressed significantly. I still think every other team in the Big Ten West would take Adrian Martinez as their starting quarterback. So I think that certainly weighed in my opinion, on the Huskers. And I've got Wisconsin 3 here with Jack Cohen. I know he had a great year, but you're handing the ball to Jonathan Taylor every snap. Makes your job pretty easy, and you've got a great O-line blocking for you. So I've got Minnesota 1, Nebraska 2, Wisconsin 3.
Okay. Austin?
Yeah, I echo Ben exactly. Minnesota, Nebraska, Wisconsin. Tanner Morgan's really good. School records for passing yards, touchdowns, and completion percentage in a season last year. And Zach Annexstad as a backup, he's played. Wasn't particularly impressive, but again, a guy with experience. Number 2 for Nebraska. Number 2, I think he's got the highest ceiling of any quarterback in the Big Ten West. You feel good about him, kind of bouncing back, being better, and Luke McCaffrey behind him is solid. And Jack Cohen was solid, like Ben said. Handing off to Jonathan Taylor makes any quarterback's life easier. But Graham Mertz there, a 4-star recruit, the highest in the rankings era for Wisconsin. I think he's got some potential down the road. Maybe he wins the job, probably not over a senior, but I think Wisconsin's pretty well set as well.
Make it 3 for 3. I'm the same way. I go Minnesota 1, Nebraska 2, Wisconsin 3. I think you've got proven players at all those positions. I don't love Cohn's game, but for what Wisconsin asked him to do, he's probably just fine in that role. They kind of just tell their quarterbacks, don't hurt us, manage the game, don't fumble on the handoffs, and he does that pretty well. So kind of by default, I keep Wisconsin in that 3 hole. How about our absentee boys of Josh and Tim?
Well, they have the same no, they don't have the same 3 teams. They have, for Tim, Minnesota at 1, Wisconsin at 2, and Northwestern at 3. Josh goes Minnesota at 1, Nebraska at 2, and Northwestern at 3.
So a couple of appearances for Northwestern. So Tim doesn't have Nebraska in the top 3, huh?
He does not, no. He's a hater.
Okay. Ben, how about your 4th?
I don't understand Northwestern. I don't get that. I've got
Peyton Ramsey.
Yeah, We'll see.
All right. Give me your 4 through 7.
I've got Illinois here at 4. I'm going Brandon Peters at 4. And then I've got Northwestern at 5, bringing in Peyton Ramsey. I've got Purdue at 6 and Iowa at 7. Just don't know anything about what Iowa's bringing at that spot. So I go Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, Iowa.
Okay. Austin, you're 4 through 7.
I'm similar to Ben, but a little higher on Peyton Ramsey. I think he's better than Brandon Peters. That Northwestern quarterback room was absolutely wretched last year. I think Peyton Ramsey makes it a respectable room by himself if he can stay healthy. Obviously, there are flaws. There's a reason he lost out to Michael Penix at Indiana, but I think he's better than Brandon Peters. So I've got Northwestern 4, Illinois and Peters at 5, Purdue at 6. A wide-open competition for them, especially with Sindelar passing up that rare 6th year. Jack Plummer and Aiden O'Connell have both played. How good are they? We'll see. Austin Burton transferring in from UCLA as well. And then Iowa, not much going on there at quarterback. Losing Nate Stanley is a big blow for them. Spencer Petras hasn't really done a whole lot, hasn't seen many snaps at all. Not a whole lot in the quarterback room over in Iowa City.
Okay. I'm kind of similar to both of you, a little different order. I'd go Illinois 4. Again, another game manager in Peters. He's kind of a statue back there. He takes a lot of hits and gets beat up quite a bit. He's going to have to hang in there and be tough all year long for them. Northwestern, Peyton Ramsey, a definite upgrade from what they have, and there's some weapons around him. That Northwestern offense with the new OC, I think, will be dramatically improved this year. Can't be any worse. It was bad a year ago. I think I'm hearing a lot of good things about Spencer Petras at Iowa. A lot of people think he's going to be very, very good for them. So I've got them in the 6th spot. And in Purdue, I just didn't see much. I know they have a transfer from UCLA coming in, but I don't know anything about him. Total question mark in my eyes. So I go Purdue in the cellar for me. How about Josh and Tim's picks? So Tim's got to have Nebraska somewhere here, I would think.
He does. We'll get to that. Josh lines up with you guys. Illinois in the 4 spot. He drops the Badgers all the way down to number 5. So Illinois 4, Wisconsin 5, and then he's with Ben, Purdue in the 6th spot, and Iowa in the 7th spot. Tim agrees, Purdue and Iowa at 6 and 7. He has Nebraska 4th and Illinois 5th.
Wow. So everybody but me had Iowa last, right?
It's true. Yeah.
Man, and Josh has downgraded the Badgers a couple different positions. It's going to be interesting to see where he has them at the end of this when we add these all up in our unscientific finish to this thing. So there you go.
I'd love to ask Tim if he would really have those three guys over Adrian as their quarterback.
He's not here to defend himself, but we'll get back to him on that.
He's not going to live this one down.
Tim, wow. Just gosh. I mean, you said you felt like you homered a little bit, put Nebraska too. I didn't think so at all. I think it's in some ways Adrian's ceiling is higher than anybody in the division.
If you're talking ceiling, his ceiling is by far the highest. But
yeah,
I don't know on what planet you would want Peyton Ramsey over Adrian Martinez as your starter.
Yeah, I don't know. We've debated where Tim's been from before, right?
That's true.
Yeah. All right, what do you think, folks? 531-500-4686. That's our Woodhouse Auto Family hotline. If you want to send us a text on our U.S. Cellular text line, same phone number, 531-500-4686. We're back to wrap up the hour next.
You're listening to Sports Nightly. This is the Husker Sports Network.
If you don't buckle up, your choice could shatter the lives of your family, friends, and everyone you know. That's why we enforce seatbelt laws, to save lives. Think about that every time you drive. Buckling up isn't just a good idea, it's a choice between surviving a crash or not. Make sure you and everyone in your vehicle buckles up every time. Click it or ticket. Brought to you by Nebraska DOT Highway Safety Office.
Husker Nation, you can now find Husker Sports Network content on our YouTube channel. Catch up on episodes of Sports Nightly. And delighted to be joined now by the head football coach, the Cornhuskers, Scott Frost. Coaches shows Husker Huddle.
Today we are joined by Minnesota Vikings running back Amir Abdullah.
Podcasts and more at Husker Sports on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to stay informed on the latest news and content from the Husker Sports Network.
This is the Husker Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. You're listening to Sports Nightly.
For expert tire and automotive service at the best prices in town, count on locally owned and family owned Jensen Tire and Auto. Jensen will service your vehicle right and have you in and out in no time. Check out Jensen's latest deals at jensentireandauto.com.
For the best tire prices guaranteed, get to Jensen Tire and Auto. Find a lower locally advertised price, Jensen will match it even after your purchase. The best tire price plus the best installation package in town, guaranteed at Jensen Tire and Auto. Stop by or click on jensentireandauto.com for details.
Husker fans, are you tired of getting your Husker news from your neighbor?
Hey neighbor, did you hear that Saturday's game will be a 7 o'clock kickoff? I love night games in Memorial Stadium.
You can be the one to get the info first by signing up for text alerts from Husker Athletics. Just text Huskers to 83200 to receive text notifications right to your phone. Game time notifications, special ticket offers, and breaking news is all just a text away. Text Huskers to 83200. It's that easy. Standard text messaging rates apply and may vary by carrier.
531-500-4686. That's the number if you want to be a part of the program. It's our Sports Nightly hotline brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto Family, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is Woodhouse. Told you at the top of the hour, the big news of the day was Rondale Moore late this afternoon from Purdue opting out of the season, going to get himself ready for the NFL draft. Micah Parsons, the outstanding linebacker from Penn State, made the same announcement earlier in the day. Also bright and early this morning, the ACC came out with their schedule grid. Remember, the ACC is going to play 9 conference games plus 1. So they're all going to keep a non-conference game. I think 3 of them, Ben, are playing Liberty. How about that? Three teams in the league are playing Liberty. Really, maybe the marquee one in the whole conference is Georgia Tech's keeping their game with Central Florida. Be about as good a non-conference game as there is in that league.
Yeah, non-conference games are going to be few and far between, I think, around the country. So there's not going to be a lot of comparison or bragging rights from conference to conference this year. But, yeah, that's enough to hold my interest.
It is. Austin told you at the top about the coaches poll came out today. The preseason top 25 poll came out today. Big Ten representation, the Buckeyes were 2, Penn State was 7, Wisconsin 12, Michigan 15, Minnesota 18, Iowa 23. And again, you wonder when some of these ballots were submitted. Was the Minnesota ballot submitted before Bateman made his decision? Maybe, because that's been a few days now. But that certainly kind of changes their outlook, not having Bateman to go along with Tyler Johnson, who graduated from last year, and Iowa in there at number 23. So Nebraska, of those 6 Big Ten teams set to play 5 of those 6, it's going to be a really competitive fall for football. And hopefully the Huskers get a chance to line up and play all those teams. Pretty good representation for the Big Ten, right? I mean, 5 out of 25, that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, too, the next thing is going to be to just keep it consistent, not be over top heavy. You think about the Pac-12, and they're quickly developing that reputation outside of Oregon, and you throw Washington in there and Utah in there. There's really not a whole lot of else behind that, and think of top heavy as well. The ACC with Clemson kind of rising to the top, and can't even really count Notre Dame. You don't want to develop that reputation as a league. You want to have some balance, and I think the Big Ten West has done a good job of shedding that reputation of the East dominating the West. I think the East is always going to get the benefit of the doubt because of the names in that league, but what Minnesota did last year, what Wisconsin continues to do, and what we hope Nebraska can do, to balance those divisions out. But, yeah, I think they're pretty well represented.
Not surprised at all with the top 3, Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama. That's kind of a slam dunk. I was surprised that they went SEC 3, 4, 5, and Oklahoma got blocked to number 6. It's kind of a block of teams from the SEC in there. Again, I think LSU's the one in my eyes, has so much to replace. I'm not sure that they are the 5th best team of the country. Hopefully we get games to prove that to be right or wrong as we move into the fall. What a good hour. Again, thanks to Mario Verduzco, Husker quarterbacks coach, for spending some time with us as we break down the quarterbacks. We only have one more position to go. We'll get to that next Tuesday. We'll talk Husker tight end. Sean Beckton will be our last coach. And again, the Huskers set to open camp tomorrow. On the eve of camp opening tomorrow for Husker football. How about that? And a day after the Big Ten schedule was released. Big hour coming up. Teddy Greenstein always stops by on Thursdays. That's coming your way here in a couple of minutes. We'll also continue our preseason top 25 We are up to number 12. We'll tell you who that is later on in the hour, and we'll wrap up the hour with our Flicks picks of the week. What have we been watching? Be fun? Always is. We'll get to that later on in the hour. Right now, though, let's start the hour with Teddy.
He's originally from New York, but now calls the second city his home. He prefers seeing a yellow card over an icing call. His choice in pizza is still up for debate, but his knowledge of sports spans from boxing to yachting. Here's the worldly Teddy Greenstein of the Chicago Tribune.
Well, what do you know? We have a Big Ten football schedule. How about that coming out yesterday morning?
That was nice. I get a call from a Big Ten PR representative on, what would that be, Monday night, Tuesday night. And it says, you want to talk to the commissioner in advance of the schedule being released. You have to embargo the story till 7:45 a.m. I say, I'm up for that. Yeah. So talked to Kevin Warren about it that night and give the Big Ten credit. I mean, as they keep calling it, the buzzword is collapsible. Mm-hmm. Hopefully the season is not collapsible, but the schedule is certainly collapsible because they can move stuff around. So when we see Nebraska-Rutgers, for example, a game that I think has pretty much no chance of happening because Rutgers is still in quarantine, that obviously can move to much later in the season. And even Michigan-Ohio State can move to a couple weeks later because both teams have an off week. So they've worked the schedule in a certain way that I think gives them a chance to play some football.
That caused some waves, I guess, moving that Michigan-Ohio State game. But the logic is solid, right? You don't want to put it at the end of the year, and if you're not playing, you don't get that game in. I think the logic is there.
Yeah, I think it's fine. If they can just get it done anytime. I'm sure some fans will complain if it was going to be in mid-September or if it was going to be this or going to be that. I don't think you can get that finicky. Certainly they felt like those week one games are not exactly marquee matchups. I mean, there's not much going on there. There's Purdue, Michigan, but really you don't have a lot of decent games. It looks like they set up week one in a way where they're saying, hey, if we can't get any of these games in week one, we start with week two, and then we've got some pretty juicy divisional games at that point. Michigan, Ohio State, absolutely. If they can play it October 24th, great. If they can play it October 31st, great. Especially after what we've heard today. We need that game to be played.
Let's go there next. Apparently the coaches had a conference call and a little snippy between Harbaugh and Day. I'm sure you were shocked hearing that, right?
Oh, yeah. Greg, I wanted to give you an easy segue. Of course you took it, man. I put it on a tee for you, and you knocked it out. Jim Harbaugh is such a whiner. I mean, it's funny because, he has an attitude of, toughness and American values and football and all these kind of tough guy things. And then, God, he really whines a lot. Like, I'll never forget, the famous Ohio State-Michigan game with J.T. Barrett and, Jim just ranting and raving and how, God, they got screwed by the officials. And it's like, you know what? There are a lot of plays in that game, and that one was incredibly close. But to get everybody up to speed on today, what you're talking about, apparently there was a conference call with the coaches, and Jim Harbaugh says to Ryan Day, hey, quit coaching your players on the field. Obviously because official practices have not begun. That is tomorrow at most places, although it's Thursday today for Illinois and Ohio State since they start the season earlier on Labor Day weekend. So I think Ryan Day probably said something back like, you coach your team, I'll coach mine. And, Greg, you might know this better than I believe somebody caught a snippet of him saying he's going to hang 100 on Michigan this year. I mean, he's come close the last 2 years.
Yeah, and I can't believe he did it last year. Michigan defense should have been able to play much better than they were, but it's just been a discrepancy in those two, and it'll add a little spice to that game whenever it takes place later in the year. Well, you talked about putting a tee in the ground. We got the PGA, the first major of the year going on. I think it's awesome that they're playing at a public course out in San Francisco, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, I do. And if you live out in San Francisco, I think you can play there for $60 or $70. So that's pretty cool. Good course, visually pretty sweet. The last 4 or 5 holes, Lake Merced, I believe. I've not been out there. Love San Fran, but have not been out there to Harding Park. Certainly want to do it one day. And how about this? I mean, how about this stretch where we could get I think it's 7 majors in 11 months? Golf's done an amazing job. And I got to say, when you see the players who are going from their cars into the clubhouse and they're wearing masks. I saw Bryson DeChambeau wearing one. I saw Phil Mickelson wearing one. The tour had a scare maybe 2 to 3 weeks in where there were maybe 4 or 5 positive tests, including some caddies, and there was definitely concern at that point. They got their little wake-up call. Now, baseball has gotten its wake-up call as well. So between the Marlins and the Cardinals, hopefully all these teams now are saying, cut it out. Don't go out at night. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Because it just takes a few guys to screw up to really have the whole thing fold.
No doubt. And Phil was wearing that mask with his sunglasses on that have kind of become his trademark now, I guess. There, you look at that leaderboard, and there's Brooks Koepka right near the top again. This guy's amazing in these majors. Can he do this again, do you think?
How did I not pick him? How do we not put money on him every single time there's a major, especially a PGA Championship? I was just shaking my head as I was seeing him today because I was, I got some, little action going with Patrick Cantlay, who's doing terribly, and Matthew Fitzpatrick, who's been awful. Tony Finau, pretty good, I think 2 under, but Brooks is just unbelievable. I mean, he doesn't even. The other events don't matter. He just absolutely kills it in these majors. He's so prepared. He's so strong. Every part of his game clicks when when the cameras come on for these big events. It's awesome. But Jason Day, 5 under, bunch of guys had good rounds today.
Yeah, going to Koepka, you've covered so many of these majors. A lot of it is mental, right? I mean, a lot of it is can you handle the pressure, and it doesn't seem to bother the guy.
That is exactly right. I mean, for most guys, they probably tighten up. They're squeezing a little harder, especially when it comes to Sunday. They want it so bad. They know what it's going to mean for their career. Maybe he didn't feel pressure because he knows he has so much game, and he felt like even if I don't get it this time, I'll get it next time. But it's gotten the best. Dustin Johnson could have so many more majors by now. Phil Mickelson in the U.S. Opens, you can look at him. Yeah. You can look at almost every guy has choked or struggled at some point or another in the big events, and Brooks has never done that. When he's had a chance to win, basically, he has won. I think Bethpage was the one where he maybe could have, but he just plays unbelievably in these events.
Yeah, and even Pebble last year at the Open, I think he finished second to Woodland. He was right there in the hunt. On the final day, right out in that Bay Area. Well, baseball, you mentioned baseball. It's under the Cubs. The Cubs are having a little nice run to start this thing. They're going to get people fired up.
Yeah, you asked me to start the season who's going to have a better record between the Cubs and the White Sox, and I thought absolutely the White Sox, and they've been fine. They've been over 500 certainly. But the Cubs have been amazing, even though Craig Kimbrell, their closer, is a head case, and they've close to writing him off, I think. Getting good offense, getting good starting pitching, like Alec Mills. I mean, all these guys who you really didn't think you could count on. And then the X factor, you never know when you switch managers. I mean, obviously Joe Madden was great for the Cubs at the time, and you can't say for sure that if he were still here, they wouldn't have this record. But David Ross, I think, has been great. He runs a tighter ship. There's a lot of enthusiasm on the team. It's very much like a top step team that they get very into it, probably because there's no crowd, so they have to manufacture all the excitement. Cubs are playing great, and you see teams like that, and they just hope other teams will take care of themselves and be healthy, because nobody would want to have a great season like this and have it basically not count.
Have the Cardinals keep going to casinos, and they'll be just fine in that division. Let me circle back, Teddy, to the Big Ten's decision to try to start on Labor Day weekend. They're the only big Power 5 conference doing that. I mean, it seems logical what the Big Ten did compared to some of these other ones which have no margin for error if they don't start till the end of September.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you're actually able to start around September 5th, which is that Saturday, or even September 12th, then you can add in a bunch of off weeks. I mean, obviously the Big Ten is playing 10 games. All conference games, of course, as we all know. And, if you could get started and you're flexible with your championship game, they could move that to December 12th or December 19th. You could have a bunch of off weeks. I mean, that also makes your TV partners incredibly happy. If you can give them football on those weekends in September, then they're going to love you. Obviously, you don't have to play all your games every weekend. If you can play 3 games every weekend, that's pretty good.
Absolutely. All right, what's on your plate for the next several days?
Man, I am going to relax. I'm going to watch a ton of golf. This was a really good, busy week. There was a lot of news breaking, not only with the Big Ten schedule, but with the Unity Group, with the Players Tribune story. I spoke to Kevin Warren about that as well. I think these guys realize they have an advocate. It's interesting that the Pac-12 guys threatened to boycott and asked for revenue sharing, and the Big Ten players did not. They're more about health and safety. I thought that was very admirable. So we got that going, and let's see what the first day's practice brings. Northwestern was off again today. Confident they can start tomorrow after taking basically a week-long pause. And I think Michigan State has started up again as well. So it might be only Rutgers now that is in the hole. So we'll see what happens.
The crown jewel of the Big Ten Conference. Teddy, great stuff. We'll talk to you next week. Hope you've had a good week to this point, getting close to another summertime weekend. Going to warm up a little bit this weekend, but it still should be, right? It still should be upper 80s, 90 degrees this time of the year. Well, we started a few weeks ago, our preseason top 25. We've made it all the way up to number 12. Let's do it.
It's the Sports Nightly preseason top 25. Tonight.
First down and 10. Burrow in the pocket, has all day, launches deep down the field, has Chase caught at the 32, down the middle of the field. He'll take it to the house. Touchdown, Tigers! 79-yard touchdown pass. Jamar Chase.
Number 12, the LSU Tigers.
And here to talk about the Bayou Tigers, Gordy Rush from the Tiger Network. And what a magical season last year was. You had to really enjoy being a part of that. 15-0 and one of the more dominant seasons in all of college football history. That had to be a blast.
It was a blast. Once in a lifetime where you get something where all of the pieces fit together. And then a generational quarterback in Joe Burrow. I mean, what a blessing for LSU to get him in the transfer portal. A lot of people didn't realize in 2018 he wasn't healthy. He had his shoulder banged up. He had that operated on in the offseason, came back healthy, had a playbook underneath, finally a year to digest the playbook. And, of course, they brought Joe Brady from the New Orleans Saints with Sean Payton's playbook there, and it just all hit together. It was an incredible year.
Well, let's start at quarterback. Who's the heir apparent?
Well, it's Miles Brennan, and so Miles Brennan is a kid that played over in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi at a private school, St. Stanislaus, that was in a very similar system to what LSU currently runs. And so Brennan now is a third year. He's a junior. He's in his fourth year, actually, at LSU. And very strong arm quarterback, maybe not the athlete or had the athletic skills, per se, that Burrow had, but understands the offense, high football IQ, big arm. And that's what you need to know about Miles Brennan. And he's been patient through this process and very easily could have hit the transfer portal with the arrival of Burrow from Ohio State. But the family decided to wait it out. His dad is part of the Brennan's legacy, the famous New Orleans restaurants, and so they were committed to the university. And now he gets his chance to shine.
Certainly gets a good core of receivers to throw to. Jamar Chase is terrific. What about the other weapons on that offense to surround him with?
Well, Terrence Marshall, who's on the other side, who's been hurt, in and out of throughout his season, and his freshman year showed up with coming off of a knee surgery. Terrence Marshall was the best receiver in the United States the year Jamar Chase came out. And he was the third receiver on this team after Jefferson and Chase. So I think this is his opportunity to shine. And then LSU has recruited so well. They've got 3 or 4 guys that played spot play a year ago. Racy McMath is an oversized receiver that's going to work out of the slot that they used in the H-back position. I think he's poised for a breakout season. And then they have a speedster that's a 4.03 guy, Trey Palmer, that showed some flashes in some of the non-conference game. They love him as a mismatch guy. You take those two, and then 5-star tight end Eric Gilbert from the Atlanta area, 6'7". People have been raving about him since he arrived on LSU's campus.
We're visiting again with Gordy Rush from the LSU Network. We have LSU at number 12 in our preseason top 25. Husker fans are screaming at me, Gordy, because I haven't got the defense and Bo Pelini. Now back at LSU. How did that hire play down in Baton Rouge?
Well, it was really popular. Bo was very, very popular down here. And I realized his bedside manner in Lincoln was kind of interesting, to say the least. But Bo was loved from his time here with Les Miles, and I think from an X's and O's standpoint, he's going to simplify things from what Dave Aranda did. They'll eventually get to more 4-3 from 3-4, and he's going to let people play. I mean, it's LSU. You're going to have racehorses, and so Bo knows what to do with them. I thought it was a good hire because he and Ed had a relationship. And it's more of what Ed has done throughout his career at USC, so I think that that's a good fit. And Bo is still really was and obviously is still really well thought of down here in Baton Rouge.
What you mentioned, there's going to be some racehorses for him to use. Give me a couple of names of guys that stand out to you as you look at that side of the ball.
Derek Stingley may be the best defensive player in the country, coming as a true sophomore corner. If the NFL draft went, last year, he might have been a top 5 pick as a freshman. He's that good. He's as polished technique-wise as I've ever seen, and just as athletic as Patrick Peterson in his time here. Jacoby Stevens is a hybrid safety, H-back, whatever you want to call him. He'll step in the type of position, and they'll move him all over the football field. I was surprised that he came back. Tyler Sheldon is going to go from nose tackle to 3-tech as a defensive lineman. And really in the back half of the year, he had a breakout season. So, I mean, to start, those are the 3 guys in my mind that are first-round draft picks next year. Of course, what does next year mean in the time that we're in? But he's got horses, and obviously he lost a lot of people, but he's got a lot of talent and a lot of people that played roles, however, may not have started. And so I think the returning starters number is a little bit deceptive for Bo Pelini.
Getting busy with Gordy Rush of the LSU Network. We have the Tigers at number 12 in our preseason top 25. Okay, the SEC has announced they're going to push the start back a couple of weeks. Does that push camp back a few weeks for LSU? Give us kind of what's happening right now, what's going to be happening in the coming weeks for the program.
Yeah, they did. They did their walkthroughs and kind of, they're calling it football school. I want to say August 17th is where they pushed it back. But LSU has announced the delayed start with the September 26th season. So we're expecting the schedule to come out at some point today. And so we'll play from, we'll go from that. But I think Ed's done a great job with taking care of the kids here. They got them back early. And I agree with what Ed said. I feel like LSU can do a better job of keeping these kids healthy than perhaps if they were just on, all over the country and interacting with family members and what have you. So I got a chance to go watch one of the walkthrough practices. I think they're a real spot. You guys have the number 12 spare. The X factor in all the preseason polls is this. No, everybody else's schedule's out except the SEC.
Yeah.
Who's LSU going to draw on the 2 additional East? Trip to Athens, right? And what does that look like? LSU's got Florida and South Carolina. Florida is their permanent. South Carolina is the rotational. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see who gets what.
Yeah, we put this together back in late June. A lot of things have changed since we put this thing together.
No question.
4 or 5 months ago. All right, major uprising with some players out on the Pac-12. The Big Ten yesterday's had a group of players. Any inkling of that coming from SEC players, kind of with offering up some demands about health standards or any of those type of things?
Jamar Chase, who we hadn't talked about, who won the Biletnikoff last year and outstanding receiver for LSU, said he's all in. I mean, I know the Husker country, they love their football up there, right? And it's religion down here in the SEC. And, I think the reaction has been, it's kind of surprising down here from the Pac-12 folks. It's like, you don't want to play, don't play. We're playing. We're playing. We had the associate athletic director come on the radio and our radio station and said, this is LSU's athletic director, and said basically they're going to put 50% capacity in the stadium in Phase 2 and 70% capacity in Phase 3. This is in light that Penn State just came out today and said we're putting nobody in the stands. Yeah. Period. And LSU is in Phase 3 very well might have, they're saying, 77,000 fans in Tiger Stadium. Different mindset down here, guys. We've heard nothing like that.
Good stuff. Gordy, we appreciate it. Let's hope we're all talking and covering some football here in the coming months.
God bless. Stay safe out there.
All right, Gordy Rush joining us. Glad to have him with us here tonight. He was on our Sports Nightly Hotline, brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto Family, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is Woodhouse. There you heard it, 50% capacity for Tiger Stadium and LSU, and no talk of any kind of player revolt at all in the SEC. All right, when we come back, we'll get Ben's thoughts about the Bayou Tigers. We have at number 12, the defending national champs. Did we undersell them? We'll dive into that next. 531-500-4686 to dial us up on our Woodhouse Auto Family Hotline, or you can text us some thoughts at very same number on our U.S. Cellular text line, the official wireless partner of the Huskers. Well, LSU number 12, how dare we, Ben, put the defending national champions that low? What were we thinking?
Well, it's not a preseason poll. It's a postseason poll, and I can't see the amount of success replicated by what they lost last year. It's inconceivable to me that even if let's just say half, Greg, let's say half of the guys that they have to replace perform at a comparable level, I don't know that that's enough to do what they did. I mean, they're going to need 75 to 85 to even greater percent of those newcomers to step in and do as good of a job to win that many games. I just don't see it happening. So I think a 12 ranking is more than fair.
You know, what the schedule says, and we don't have it completely out for them, but road trips to Florida, to Auburn, to A&M. Those are three really quality football teams that are going to play on the road. They do get Bama at home, and some of the other key games are at home for them. But those are three daunting road trips. And now with a 10-game schedule, 8-2, that's probably where they are, right? 10, 11, 12. If you're 8-2 after 10 games, 8-2 might be really good. They might be just a 7-3 type football team.
Yep, I think that's fair. I do. And again, who knows? They might be sluggish coming out of the gate. It might take them 2 or 3 games to get going. And you can't afford to do that on an all-SEC schedule. So, it'll be interesting to see how they come out and replace all of that talent. You know, it's an unload-reload, but are they ready to go right now? That's a big question.
How about the Bo Pelini part of this story? I mean, we have not talked much about this. He leaves a head coaching position at Youngstown State. He actually got a huge pay raise, going to be the DC at LSU, a place that he was at and thoroughly enjoyed. Helped that program with Les Miles as the head coach win a national championship before coming to Lincoln to be the head coach. Your thoughts about Bo going to LSU?
Yeah, I think this is where he's most comfortable, and I also think that this is where he's probably. This is the type of job that he needs, I think. You get out of the spotlight. You're going to a place where Eddie O is just going to dominate all of the media coverage. You're not going to be the one that's forced to do a lot of talking. A lot of those things that Coach Bo doesn't love to do, that he's not going to have to do now. And I think that's going to fit him well. He's going to recruit very well. He's going to have a lot of talent. And I think he's going to be very successful. I really do.
I do too. And as our guest said, there's a lot of talent to work with there. I mean, LSU has always been one of the most talented football teams in the land across the board. Even when they were coming up short against an Auburn or an Alabama, they still were putting multiple guys in the NFL year after year. So, I think it's going to be a good fit for him. I wish him well. I know that there are still some Husker fans that get fired up when you bring up the Pelini era of Husker football. But, I think I certainly appreciated what he did here at Nebraska. He won no fewer than 9 games every year he was our head coach, and we've had a hard time kind of getting the boat steered back in the right direction since he left.
Yeah, I mean, it was time. I mean, it was time for both parties to move on. But, even just in a professional sense, he treated us with nothing but respect, you and I. And, he was very well he treated us very well, was talking, talked to us and I had no complaints in that regard too. So, I think a lot of his perception is people not really knowing who Bo Pelini really is. It's what they see on Saturdays, and that's it. And obviously, him indicting himself on a couple of audio tapes didn't help his reputation at all. But I think more or less what he did for Nebraska was a really good thing, and he couldn't quite take us to the top of the mountain. He climbed us 3/4 of the way there. I don't know that he would ever get to the top at Nebraska, but right now 3/4 the way top of the mountain sounds pretty good than sitting at the bottom trying to figure out where to throw your ice pick to start that climb.
Right. Austin said we had a caller who would like for us to recap our preseason top 25. So we've got a few minutes here, so let me go back through. I know people missed some nights and kind of wonder who they missed. So we started with USC at number 25. We had Central Florida at 24 and really like what they have. It's going to be interesting to see what their final schedule looks like. That's a really talented Central Florida team again. Iowa State in the 23 spot. We like Brock Purdy, the quarterback. We think a lot of Matt Campbell. We think this could be a breakthrough year. They don't play Iowa now in the non-conference. I think they'll be a factor in that Big 12 race. We had Indiana at 22, and certainly we put this together in late June, early July before the Big Ten announced that they were getting rid of the non-conference schedule. We had Indiana wiping out their non-conference schedule, being 3-0, and then maybe going 5-4 in the league and having an 8-4 season. That's why we had them in the 22 spot. I don't know that it'll be that rosy for Indiana now. It's just 10 straight conference games. We had the Hoosiers at 22. Cincinnati, who was on the Husker schedule for all offseason until the Big Ten wiped out the non-conference. We have the Bearcats at 21 and see a real battle in that conference, that AAC, between them and Central Florida. We have Herm Edwards' Sun Devils of Arizona State at number 20, Oklahoma State out of the Big 12 at number 19. We slotted Michigan at 15. The coaches poll or 18. We have Michigan at 18. The coaches poll had Michigan at number 15. North Carolina, we really like them in the ACC. We had the Tar Heels with Mac Brown at number 17. Boise State at 16. And they have a chance, I think, to have a really special year if they get to play all their games. Again, we're not quite certain what their games are. I know the Mountain West did come out with what they're going to try to do. Texas at 15, Auburn at 14, Minnesota is who we revealed last night at 13. Obviously, that was before Rashad Bateman pulled the plug on his college career, and then tonight LSU at number 12. Any heartburn with that group there?
I don't think so. I think the one that probably gives me the most concern today would be Auburn. I think we may have overshot them a little bit, and obviously losing Rashad Bateman, I don't know how much that influences me. One player, especially not a quarterback, yeah, he's an unbelievable talent, but I don't know how many wins Rashad Bateman himself is worth, so I don't know.
Yeah. So, again, we're going to have to put an asterisk by this because, again, we had to put this together before all these conferences started rescheduling games and canceling non-conference. It may look completely different in a few months, and hopefully it does look different because that means we've played some college football. All right, 531-500-4686, the number if you want to dial us up with a comment or question. We're going to take a break, come back with our Flicks Picks of the Week, and I'm told it's a new open from Tim Kern. Cannot wait to hear what this sounds like.
It's time now for Sports Nightly Flicks Picks.
And action! That's good. I like
Grade
it.
What do you think? Out of 10,
I like
what are we giving it?
8. Austin, what do you grade that at?
I'm in the. I'll be a little harsher. 6.75 to 7.25 range. So I'll give it
tough grader there.
I'm at like a 6.4. I really like the camera click at the beginning. I wish that was still in there.
Yeah, overall, the projector sound.
Yeah, I like that. But overall, it's passable. It's solid.
The no crying in baseball was good.
Yeah.
If he'd have put something out of Moneyball, that might have spruced it up.
American classic.
No Dwight Schrute in that one, like the first one.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was a good quote that I pulled off the top of the dome. I mean, we were trying to put that together. I'm like, okay, I got it. I could even tell you which episode it is to go find that.
I'm sure you could. All right, Ben, lead us off.
Yeah, this is one that's been on the back burner for a long time, and thanks to the paternity, I was able to start cranking on it with my wife and finally got to it. It's been around for a long time, but we're just making our rounds to Designated Survivor. Here's a quick clip.
Hello?
Hi, Daddy.
Who is this?
Your daughter?
No, that's not possible. My daughter's asleep, and I know that because I kissed her goodnight almost 2 hours ago.
When are you and Mommy coming home?
There are times when we make history.
It doesn't matter. You're going to be asleep by then, right?
And there are times when history makes us.
Good night, Daddy.
Good night, little P.
To ensure you that the same American dream, shared by our fathers, our mothers.
It's weird. Yeah, ours just went black, too.
Secretary, you need to put the phone down.
Mike, what the hell is going on?
I said put the phone down.
Some kind of explosion.
Mike, please, just tell us what you know.
Capitol's been attacked. Congress, Cabinet. Eagle is gone. Sir, you are now the President of the United States.
Remember watching that trailer way back when that show was just coming out. I'm like, ooh, I think I might like that. I might check that out. Haven't been able to get around to it. Kiefer Sutherland thrust into the role of President of the United States. The show itself is pretty good. I don't know how much of it is believable with all the amount of crises that are constantly happening every episode, but it's enough to hold my attention. It's still weird seeing Kiefer Sutherland not as Jack Bauer in a government-related role, so I'm expecting him to whip out pistols and slide down zip lines and take out the bad guys himself, and just don't know that it fits him quite yet.
Maybe the best start to a series. I mean, and I've watched them. That first episode, when that thing goes off and he was about to get fired, I think. How far into it are you now?
I think we're like 7 or 8 episodes.
Well, I think they were going to move him out of his role. He was like Secretary of the Interior or something like that. But this was one of his last duties, and you always put one member of the cabinet somewhere off-site during the State of the Union address because everybody else is in the Capitol. It's a good series. ABC dropped it after, I think, 3 seasons. Netflix picked up season 4. I've only watched a couple of episodes of that, but it's not bad. It really isn't bad.
No, not at all.
You'll like it. All right, Austin, you're up.
All right, so last weekend, my fiance and I watched a movie, Knives Out, directed by Ryan Johnson. Big name. It came out Thanksgiving, Christmas time of 2019. Kind of a whodunit thriller type of movie. Real great cast: Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, Frank Oz. It absolutely delivers, and here's the trailer.
I'm Detective Lieutenant Elliott, and this is Trooper Wagner. We just want to ask a few questions. We understand the night of his demise, the family have gathered to celebrate your father's 85th birthday. How was it, by the way?
The party? Pre my dad's death? Oh, it was great.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to request that you all stay until the investigation is completed. I suspect foul play. I have eliminated no suspects.
And that's the theme of the movie, eliminated no suspects. There are so many twists, so many turns. My fiance tried to explain it to me as she watched it a little bit without giving too much away, so it'd still be fresh when I watched it. But I guess 4 or 5 different times who did it in the movie. The final reveal is great. Daniel Craig's weird Western Texas accent is less great. That's not Daniel Craig. It's not classy James Bond, but he was great in the role. Chris Evans was great. Yeah, fantastic movie. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, how did you watch it? Where'd you watch it on? Did you rent it?
Amazon Video.
Yeah. I'm jealous because I've been wanting to see that movie for 6 months and haven't gotten around to it. But everybody has said you couldn't put together a better cast. My gosh, that is a lot of A-listers on that thing. Mine for the week is a similar type of movie, but not nearly on the scale of what Austin, who's just pounded me in the ground with this. Because I've got Murder Mystery, which is a takeoff of that, but a comedy version with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. Here's a trailer.
Charles is inviting us to spend the weekend with him on a yacht.
Crashing the party with civilians.
You're an actress, right?
Grace Ballard.
I am Nick Spitz. This is my wife, Allison. I can't believe...
Audrey. I'm Audrey.
I said Audrey.
Did you ever fool around on a boat? I just lay here and the boat does all the work.
There's been a murder!
Should we pull it out? No, it's a foot long now.
Will you listen to my husband? He's a detective.
I'll put it back. Don't put it back. My name is Inspector Laurent Delacroix. I will now summon you for questioning. Why is that smoke ring so good? How did he do that? Did you notice anything out of the ordinary?
But we didn't do this.
Someone's trying to frame us.
We do things together, so can we please just figure this out?
It's just like death in the library.
What happens in Death in the Library?
They died.
So it's the same kind of premise as Austin's movie, where the Aniston and Sandler are married. They get invited to go on this luxurious cruise. They're kind of hanging out on this cruise, and some big fancy guy gets killed because a bunch of people want his money, and then they get called in as suspects. They have to kind of fight their way out of it. It's a perfect movie if you don't want to have to think a whole lot and you just kind of want to chuckle along a little bit. This would be for you. It's not a critics movie at all. Tim would hate it because it's not some, hotty-toddy thing that Tim would like.
Cryptic script and...
Right.
It's easy listening music for the eyes.
That's exactly right. Where you chuckle along a few times. If you like Adam Sandler movies, this is it. It's not an A-plus movie by any means, like Knives Out, which I do want to see. But there you go.
Tim is not about that. Tim's not about that at all. I mean, he would rip that apart. Rather quickly. I would think. Sandler's peaked about 15 years ago, but he still puts out stuff that's at least watchable, I would say.
He and Jennifer Aniston apparently are really good friends in real life, and so they don't pull off being a real romantic couple, and that's actually fine because the way the script is, they're kind of a marriage. It's kind of going through the motions a little bit, and she's always kind of mad at him and promising things, and he comes up a little bit short in life, but he plays that role pretty well. So there you go. Those are our pick flicks for the week. I kind of miss somebody coming on here and talking about a French foreign film or something like that we've had here in the last few weeks.
Well, maybe next week.
All right, those are our pick flicks for the week, and I still haven't gotten into Last Chance U yet. Have you seen? A lot of people are liking this one.
Yeah, that will probably be on my next week's, so I can get a better review. I'm not through it yet, so
okay.
Yes, I am. It is in progress.
And I started Space Force this week. You said no to that.
Nope, I'm out.
I've only seen two. I've only seen 2 episodes. I think there's only 8, but I've only seen the first 2. So I think Josh reviewed that a few months ago, so I can't review that one.
He got through it. I think
he did.
Yeah.
He did. Austin wins this week. That's a great movie, Knives Out. I've got to see that. That is on my bucket list to see that, and I have seen Designated Survivor. You'll enjoy that, Ben. My wife and I watched that quite a bit for the last few months. Good hour. Wow, what an action-packed hour. Teddy Greenstein. We revealed team number 12 in our preseason top 25. Number 12 is LSU, the Baton Rouge Tigers, the Bayou Tigers, who are the defending national champs on our Flicks picks for the week.